Well, hello internets, here we go. We have ourselves another multi-part vlog.
Turn left after 124 kilometers.
Well, this one we're on a big road trip. Could be a multi-day road trip, or it could be just a 8-hour drive for a 20-minute coffee. I am hoping that it goes differently, but I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic and based on my past experiences, but you can't always judge the future by the past, per se. So, all packed up, got my clothes all packed, computer stuff all packed, got a bit of a road trip lunch packed, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, 4 o'clock in the morning. What kind of sane person is still awake or even out at this time of morning? But kind of reminds me of the good old days back before my life became complicated and confusing. Well, as you've seen there, the road conditions in town are really good. They are saying we could hit some snow, but hey, we will cross that when we get there. You know how they say, drive really fast with strong jerking motions side to side, you'll do perfectly fine on icy surfaces. I think that's how it goes, right? Anywho, drove through the McDonald's, and for some odd reason they're closed. Even though it is, well, basically breakfast time for them, they are closed. Obviously they must be closed due to short staff. So they really need to hire taller staff, because that seems to happen quite frequently, where they'll be down around 2 o'clock, 2:30. Sometimes down around 4, sometimes down around 5. I remember those days about working night shift, graveyard shift like that, and people don't show up because they're hungover, passed out, whatever the wonderful excuse is. And when that happens, then the rest of the shift is shorthanded, and it seems to be lately, the last few years, the industry has been cost-cutting. Even though they raised the price of minimum wage to about 25 cents less than the wage I was working when I broke my hand and messed up my life. That's hard to believe that they're getting paid $15.75 to work in fast food. When I worked in fast food, you were grateful to get $9 an hour. That was pretty much top of the wage for the grunts anyway. I don't know what the salary manager or store manager were getting, but obviously it wasn't enough for them. And they cut back on positions, then leaving only 2 staff instead of 4 or 5 to run the store. And if one of those 2 staff or 2 of those 2 staff phone in sick, go on strike, want to unionize, whatever the problem is, freeze up in the cold, whatever the problem is, then the store pretty much has to close, because, well, you can't run her with 1 staff. So I guess we'll have to do without our morning coffee. I don't really need her, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to get going and rolling. So I guess enough of this little voiceover through the semi-outskirts part of town. We're gonna go into darkness here, and I'll probably won't record much throughout the darkness, because, well, there's really not much to see except, 30 feet in front of the headlights. And then I'll fade back in as it starts to get daylight at the other end, and then we'll go from there. So we'll catch you all then. Hello internets, here we are. Well, made her on to Brooks, Alberta. The drive was okay. The darkness was quite claustrophobic, but as it got lighter, then it got better. Made her to Brooks. Just finished going through the Walmart. Pretty much look, you can tell. It's a smaller Walmart, similar to Drumheller's Walmart, except there's a little bit more in the grocery side of things. You never know, the Drumheller Walmart might have added more groceries too, because it's been like 4 years or so since I've been in it. Well, as I mentioned, the drive-in was good. A little bit of fog, a little bit of cold weather, a little bit of snow. Essentially typical winter driving conditions. I think I'm gonna go scope out where the motel is. I know it's too early for check-in, but maybe you can pay a little bit and check in a few hours early. So we'll see how it goes, and maybe next time you see me, it'll be in the motel room.